In the small, quiet town of Brattleboro, Vermont, few people would have noticed Ronald Read if they passed him on the street. He was the kind of man who blended into the background, a frail, elderly gentleman always dressed in the same worn-out flannel shirt and a cap that had seen better days. If you saw him at the gas station, you might assume he was just another retired blue-collar worker trying to stretch his pension. But behind his unassuming appearance lay a secret that would stun the world. Ronald Read was a millionaire. Not the flashy kind with a luxury car or a mansion on a hill. He didn't inherit a fortune. He wasn't a business tycoon. In fact, for most of his life, he worked as a janitor and a gas station attendant. Yet, when he passed away in 2014 at the age of 92, his estate was worth over $8 million. The townspeople were in shock. How could a man who spent his life sweeping floors and fixing cars accumulate such a massive fortune? This is the unbelievable story of how a janitor, through patience, intelligence, and an unwavering belief in the power of investing, turned a modest salary into a legacy that would inspire generations. Ronald Read was born in 1921 in a rural Vermont farmhouse. His early life was anything but easy. He walked miles to school every day, often in the bitter cold of New England winters. He was the first in his family to graduate high school, a feat that was uncommon for boys growing up in farming communities during the Great Depression. Like many young men of his generation, Read served in World War II. He was stationed in. After serving in World War II, Ronald Read returned home to Vermont. Unlike many soldiers who pursued higher education through the GI Bill, Read chose a simpler path. He found a job as a gas station attendant, a role he would keep for decades. Later, he also worked as a janitor at a local J.C. Penney store. These weren't glamorous jobs, and they certainly didn't pay much. But Read wasn't looking for wealth in the traditional sense. He valued stability and simplicity over luxury. He lived modestly, never spending more than necessary. His friends and neighbors recalled that he drove an old second-hand car for years, patched up his own clothes, and never indulged in expensive meals or vacations. He lived in a humble house with minimal furnishings, and if something broke, he would try to fix it rather than replace it. At first glance, it seemed like Ronald Read was just another hardworking American who lived paycheck to paycheck. But there was something different about him, something that no one realized until much later. He had a secret strategy for building wealth that went completely unnoticed. Unlike many people who struggle financially despite working hard, Read had a keen understanding of money. He wasn't a stockbroker, nor did he have a degree in finance. But he had something even more valuable: patience and discipline. From an early age, Read had a simple but powerful philosophy. Spend less than you earn, save the difference, and invest wisely. He started buying stocks in blue-chip companies, solid, well-established businesses that had a history of growth and stability. He wasn't looking for quick wins or high-risk bets. Instead, he focused on dividend-paying stocks, companies that consistently shared their profits with shareholders. He reinvested those dividends, allowing his wealth to compound over the decades. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Wells Fargo, and General Electric were among his favorites. These weren't flashy tech startups or speculative investments. They were reliable, industry-leading corporations that slowly but steadily increased in value over time. For Read, investing wasn't about timing the market or chasing the latest trends. It was about long-term thinking. He understood one of the most powerful principles of wealth building: time in the market is more important than timing the market. As the years passed, his investments grew quietly in the background while he continued working as a janitor, living his simple life. No one suspected that the man sweeping the floors of J.C. Penney owned a portfolio worth millions. But when the truth was finally revealed, the entire town and the world was stunned. For decades, Ronald Read maintained a routine that seemed entirely ordinary. Every morning, he would wake up early, put on his flannel shirt and cap, and head to work. Whether it was at the gas station or the department store, his demeanor never changed. He was polite, hardworking, and unassuming. His coworkers liked him, but no one thought he was anything more than what he appeared to be: a quiet, elderly man making ends meet. But behind the scenes, Read was building a financial empire. While others spent their money on new cars, expensive gadgets, or lavish vacations, Read continued to save and invest. His strategy was remarkably simple yet incredibly effective. Live below your means, he never wasted money on unnecessary expenses. Invest in stable, dividend-paying stocks. He focused on companies that had a strong history of growth. Be patient. Instead of buying and selling stocks frequently, he let his investments grow over decades. His portfolio grew steadily. Each time a company paid dividends, Read reinvested them, buying even more shares. Over the years, this snowballed into an enormous fortune, yet no one had any idea. It wasn't until Ronald Read passed away in 2014 at the age of 92 that the world learned of his extraordinary wealth. When the news broke, it sent shockwaves through his small Vermont town. People were stunned to learn that the janitor who had spent his life fixing cars and sweeping floors had an estate worth $8 million. How could someone with such a modest lifestyle have accumulated such a vast fortune? Even more surprising was what he chose to do with his wealth. Instead of leaving it to family members or spending it on himself, Read had quietly arranged for most of his fortune to be donated to charities and institutions that he believed in. His two largest donations went to the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, which received $4.8 million, the Brooks Memorial Library, which received $1.2 million. The hospital and the library had been staples of his community, places he had quietly appreciated throughout his life. Now, thanks to Read's generosity, they would continue to serve generations of people long after he was gone. Local officials were stunned. "We had no idea," one hospital administrator said. "We just thought he was a nice old man who liked to read and kept to himself." Ronald Read's story became an inspiration for people around the world. He had no secret formula, no lucky break, no special connections. He simply lived frugally, saved consistently, and invested wisely, proving that anyone, regardless of their income level, could build wealth over time. But his story also carried a deeper message. It wasn't just about money, it was about values. Read never sought recognition or prestige. He didn't chase luxury or fame. Instead, he found joy in simple things: a good book, a conversation with a friend, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that he was building something bigger than himself. And when the time came, he used his wealth not for personal indulgence, but to give back to the community that had given him so much. As the news of Ronald Read's fortune spread, financial experts, journalists, and everyday Americans were left in awe. How did a janitor with no formal education in finance manage to outperform highly paid Wall Street investors? The answer was shockingly simple: consistency, patience, and discipline. Many investors try to beat the market by making risky bets, following trends, or constantly buying and selling stocks. But Read understood something that even some of the most educated financial professionals often forget: time is the most powerful force in investing. By steadily buying shares of high-quality companies and reinvesting his dividends, Read took full advantage of compound interest, the secret weapon of the wealthy. Over decades, even small investments can snowball into massive wealth if left untouched. His portfolio included some of the most stable and successful businesses in the country. Procter & Gamble, a company behind household brands like Tide, Gillette, and Pampers. Johnson & Johnson, a healthcare giant that has been paying dividends for over a century. Wells Fargo, one of America's largest and most profitable banks. General Electric, a powerhouse in energy and manufacturing. Read didn't chase the latest tech stocks or gamble on startups. Instead, he bought companies that he understood, companies that produced things people would always need: soap, medicine, banking, and energy. And most importantly, he never panicked. During stock market crashes, while others sold their shares in fear, Read held onto his investments. He understood that the market would always recover, and in the long run, great companies would continue to grow. This mindset, staying invested even when times were tough, was one of the biggest reasons he accumulated so much wealth. Ronald Read's story is a reminder that building wealth isn't about intelligence, luck, or having a high-paying job. It's about mindset. Most people believe that becoming a millionaire requires taking big risks, starting a company, or inheriting wealth. Read proved otherwise. He showed that even those with the most humble jobs could create financial security if they followed a few simple principles. Live below your means, spend less than you earn, and avoid debt. Save and invest consistently, no matter how little, start early and stay disciplined. Be patient. Wealth isn't built overnight, it's a long-term process. Invest in strong, stable companies, look for businesses that stand the test of time. Ignore market noise, don't panic during downturns, stay the course. Even though Read passed away in 2014, his influence remains strong. His donations transformed his local hospital and library, ensuring that future generations would benefit from his generosity. And more than that, his story has inspired countless people across America and beyond. He proved that anyone, no matter their background or income, can achieve financial independence with the right mindset and habits. As financial expert Warren Buffett once said, the stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Ronald Read embodied this philosophy better than most professional investors. But the most remarkable part of his journey was yet to come. Ronald Read's story wasn't just about becoming a millionaire, it was about what he chose to do with his wealth. Many who achieve financial success seek personal luxury, expensive cars, giant mansions, or lavish vacations. But Read saw money differently. To him, wealth wasn't about status or power, it was a tool to help others. His decision to donate most of his $8 million fortune to Brattleboro Memorial Hospital and Brooks Memorial Library was a reflection of his values. These weren't random acts of charity, they were deeply personal choices. The hospital had been a part of his community for decades, treating local families and providing care to those in need. By donating nearly $5 million, Read ensured that future generations would receive better medical care. The library had always been a place of learning, something Read valued highly despite never attending college. His $1.2 million donation helped expand its collection, fund educational programs, and improve resources for students. His quiet generosity stunned the town of Brattleboro. People who had seen him every day, the gas station clerk, the janitor at JCPenney, the old man reading newspapers at the library, had no idea that he had been sitting on a fortune the entire time. But that was exactly the kind of man Read was. He didn't seek attention, and he never let money change his simple way of life. Instead, he focused on what truly mattered: hard work, patience, and giving back to others. Ronald Read's story continues to inspire millions around the world. He proved that you don't need to be born rich or have a high-paying job to build wealth. Financial success is not about how much you earn, it's about how much you save, invest, and let grow over time. His legacy teaches us 3 powerful lessons. Start small, think big. Even with a modest salary, consistent investing can lead to incredible wealth over decades. Patience is the key, don't try to get rich overnight. True wealth comes from time in the market, not timing the market. Wealth is a tool, not a goal. Money itself isn't the end game. What you do with it, how you help others and shape the world, is what truly matters. Today, financial experts cite Read as an example of the power of compounding and the importance of long-term investing. His story has been featured in newspapers, financial blogs, and books about smart money management. But beyond the financial world, he remains an inspiration for everyday Americans, proof that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve financial independence. As one of his friends said after his passing, Ronald Read didn't live to impress anyone. He lived to leave something behind. And that's exactly what he did. His name may not be as famous as Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, but his legacy is just as powerful. A janitor, a gas station attendant, a self-made millionaire, a philanthropist, a man who quietly proved that anyone can achieve financial success with the right mindset. And if he could do it, so can you.